But just in terms of Twitter and Facebook, does everybody here know what those are?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to get an idea of where we're starting from. So basically, Twitter is just a social media platform that think about Facebook on speed. It's just a quicker turnover of information and a quicker feed, basically, and shorter. So posts on Facebook have the ability to include longer videos, lots of images, longer posts. You could even write like an entire blog post on Facebook and make that a post. But on Twitter, you have a specific character limit, and you can only post so many images and so much video. So there's a shorter or a lower threshold in terms of what you can post on Twitter. And so that's the Facebook. But in terms of Twitter, so this is, well, let me go to just a regular Twitter so I'm not jumping the gun here with TweetDeck. So basically, this is Twitter. And in terms of writing, for instance, a tweet about Medicare for All, you have a specific amount of characters that you can use in a tweet. The other thing here is that the important function to use is hashtags on Twitter. And Margaret mentioned, looking for information about Twitter or about Medicare for All, for instance, whether that be a good article that you can share with folks or an article that's BS that you want to comment on and let people know that this is incorrect and then give them the list of reasons why. So the search function on Twitter is really great. And if you don't have the screen and you're not looking at this, then it's in the top right corner when you get to the Twitter page, or if you're on a phone, then it's one of the options in the lower part of the app on your phone. But so the Twitter search function, the hashtag is like the pound key on an old style phone, and you would just type in, for instance, Medicare for All, and you see that that's already a trending hashtag. And when you look for a hashtag, if it doesn't show up in the search here, then it's not something that comes up very often. But Medicare for All is something that comes up. So if you search for that, then you'll see a list of everything that has that hashtag in it. So for instance, National Nurses United had a tweet about them being a part of the Women's March with regards to Medicare for All. So this could be something that you retweet. This could be something that you say, hey, National Nurses United, if you're not familiar with our work, then here's our page, and it'd be great if you share that with your group, and therefore, of course, spread the message and build our network. So that search function is a really great one to use when you're trying to find information that can then be used to repost, retweet, or even, again, reach out to folks that might be good allies in this work. And of course, another thing, if you already know the name of, say, an organization, and I'll just use ours because that's the easiest one, but let's say you know the name of a group, it could be a local nurses union or something like that, you could search them on Twitter. You could even do a Google search of, let's say, Nurses Union Albuquerque Twitter, for instance. And then if they do have a Twitter account, then that would show up in the Google search, and then you can go to their Twitter account and follow them and say, hey, just wanted to reach out to you. This is what we're doing. We're fighting for Medicare for All. And here's where we get into the tagging people on Twitter, so the two symbols that you really need to know on Twitter are the hashtag, which is the £, and the at, which is how you get to people. So for instance, for those of you who have the screen share, you can see here that our handle is at H_O_P4E. So that's our name. That's like whatever your name is on Facebook or what have you. So for instance, over here we can see Dr. Carol Paris is at Carol Paris. And so whatever that handle is, that's how you reach out to those folks. So that's another good way of finding people on Twitter and reaching out to them in that way. In terms of messaging, if you're looking to reach out to people, really tailoring the message is really important. So for instance, if I'm reaching out to a group of doctors, my messaging is going to be different than if I'm reaching out to a senator or a member of Congress. So really tailoring your message to who you're talking to. And I know sometimes that can feel overwhelming when you don't have a lot of characters to work with on Twitter. But for instance, something like, let's see if I can find something here that we've recently done. But we recently sent out a message to Representative Jayapal about her HR 676 reworking, and that she needs to make it transparent and things like that. So that would be a message that would go out to her, and that would look something like, I'm not going to actually tweet this from my account, but just to show those of you who have the screen, so I don't know exactly what her handle is, but I started typing her name, starting with the @ symbol. So at Representative Jayapal, we want Medicare for all, and I'm using that hashtag there so that if other people are searching for this hashtag, or if this hashtag is trending, then that will be useful and that'll be visible. So this, for example, would say, hey, Representative Jayapal, we want Medicare for all, and we want a transparent proceeding, or something to that effect. So that would be some sort of message to send out to a representative. And another thing that would be really helpful here is also if you then tag us. So you tag at H_O_P4E in any of the tweets that you do, so that we can retweet them, and by retweeting we get more people to see them, and the message spreads. But it's also a way for whoever you're contacting, of course, to see what group you're a part of. And also you can feel free to use the website, which is healthoverprofit.org, and sharing that in tweets as well. That's a great place to get people to go to. Also something that you can put in tweets if you're tweeting out to people or organizations that you want to see be active in this, you could send them to the actions page, healthoverprofit.org/actions. Or if people are, commenting with you on, or getting into a discussion with you on Twitter, for instance, you can tell them, hey, there's a lot more information at this address, the healthoverprofit.org campaign updates page. So don't be afraid to include links and tagging people on Twitter as well. And of course, Medicare for all is not the only hashtag that people are using with regards to this issue. Another one is universal health care. So you can search for that one on Twitter and see who's using that. And you can see, so obviously we're using that one. And you can see who's using that and what they're saying about it. And again, as Margaret mentioned, this is a great way to find misinformation and to interact with folks about that misinformation, but of course also get information about good news that's coming in, good updates and things like that. HR 676 is another hashtag that has been and will likely be floating around more frequently as that continues to move through. So here's one, for instance, that's talking about Beto O'Rourke. And so another one is single payer. That's another one that is popular. So here again is National Nurses United. And you'll often see that that people will use more than one hashtag in a tweet, so that they can get more play on if people are searching those hashtags. So Medicare for all is oftentimes used with single payer, which is used oftentimes with universal health care. I would caution you to not use a lot, because what oftentimes happens if you see somebody tweeting, for example, if I tweet something like, single payer, universal healthcare, and then also this is completely random, but and also a link, and then also I tag someone. If you're just scrolling through Twitter and you see that, that's absolute nonsense. It means nothing. There's no message. And what people really want to see on Twitter is they want to see something that they can retweet. Because if you think about what you're more likely to retweet or share, you're more likely to share something that has a message, right? So you want to stay away from just posting a bunch of hashtags and then a link, because that means nothing to anyone basically except for you. So it needs to be a message like this National Nurses United, which says hundreds of activists will host Medicare for All barnstorms in early February, and today is the last day to sign up to host one in your community. That's a message. That's something that I can share with folks, even if they don't know what a barnstorm is, or even if they're not that familiar with Medicare for All. It's something that I can share, and that's an entry point for folks. So you definitely want to make sure that there's a message there. And again, that messaging will change based on whether that's a tweet at someone in particular, or if that's just a tweet on your specific Twitter account that's kind of out to the Twitterverse. So do tailor your tweets based on where they're headed, so to speak. And let me check my trusty little. And I will share, I'm looking at notes right now, social media notes, and I will share this. We can send this out in an email as well. Yeah, basically to sort of wrap up the Twitter talk there, some little points about in terms of using it. You want to make sure that you're not tweeting back to back. And what that means is basically like if I were to write a tweet and then immediately write another tweet, Twitter will clamp down on that because Twitter doesn't like seeing multiple tweets after another. It ends up looking like spam in their algorithms. So, and this, tell me if I'm getting in the weeds a little bit if folks aren't following me. But so basically if I were to do a tweet right now that says, something about Medicare for All, instead of doing another tweet right after it, if I want to add to that, then what I do is I hit the what's this called?
Comment.
The bubble. I hit the bubble, the thought bubble button, which for those of you who aren't watching, that'll be at the bottom where you see the option to retweet, to like. There will be a bubble button, and then basically what that does is that's like a reply to the tweet. But what this does, instead of adding another tweet right after the other one, is it creates a thread. So you might have heard the term Twitter thread, and basically that means that somebody has written a long series of information, but they've had to break it up in different tweets because of how Twitter works, or because they're constructing a thought over the course of, say, 5-10 minutes. But instead of creating a new tweet every 30 seconds, which Twitter is going to clamp down on, they've hit the reply button so that they can craft that other tweet. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So that's an important thing to remember. And also to remember, I already mentioned that statements do better than headlines. And also Twitter is really a phenomenal tool. I mean, Twitter is a good tool kind of in a broad sense as well, but Twitter is an excellent tool in terms of actions that are happening like in the moment. So a lot of times you'll see on Twitter hashtag happening now, or, breaking news, this blockade in front of a pipeline is happening, or, we're outside of Health and Human Services and we're demanding that they give us a response as to why they're not moving towards Medicare for All, something like that. And that does really well on Twitter because a lot of people go to Twitter for that immediacy. Like I was saying earlier, Twitter is like a truncated and more speedy version of Facebook. And so it's great for that kind of breaking news. And then here again, if you're at an action of some kind and you're tweeting out about something, again, don't be afraid to tweet at people. And that goes for big media accounts too, like, hey, CNN, we're out here doing this, or hey, you know, Huffington Post or what have you. And how you do that is like I did with the Representative Jayapal, you just use the @ symbol and then find their name in that list, and Twitter will give you the options of those people. What you want to steer clear of, and this is just a little weird eccentricity of Twitter. If I were to just type in Representative Jayapal without anything in front of that @ symbol, what happens is that the only people that will see that tweet are people that follow me and Representative Jayapal, which are not that many people in regards to the larger Twitter sphere. So you have to put something in front of that @ symbol. So a lot of people will put a period if they want to, you know, save space and not write, hey, Representative Jayapal, then they'll just do a little period before the @ symbol that says, and then continue with their message after that. But just to keep in mind, it's, yeah, again, I know it's silly, but it's just one of those eccentricities of Twitter that doesn't allow you, it requires you to put something in front of the @ symbol unless you only want it to show up to the people that follow both of you. And of course, if you're just trying to reach that one representative, then it might not matter to you, in which case you can definitely keep it at Representative Jayapal so-and-so, because Twitter won't let you direct message someone unless they also follow you. So this can be a good way of connecting with someone directly if you don't need the larger Twitter sphere to see that tweet. Any questions so far?
Eleanor, can you explain that last thing again? Like if you want to send a message to Jayapal, if she doesn't follow you?
Right, so with Twitter, you can only do a direct message. And you'll see here that there's messages. So these are, all these people that I've been in direct message with, they're people that follow me as well. So the only way that you can direct message someone on Twitter is if they also follow you. So if I wanted to get in touch with a representative who doesn't follow me, then my best bet, I mean, on Twitter, of course, there are other ways of getting in touch with your representative, but on Twitter, the best way then is to go via the @ symbol. And again, if you're just trying to get in touch with that representative, then feel free to just do @Representative Jayapal or Representative so-and-so. If you want the larger Twitter community to see that, you have to put something in front of that @ symbol, be it a little period or a hey or heads up or whatever. You know, you have to put something in front of that for the larger Twitter sphere to see it. Otherwise, only people that follow you and the person that you are tagging will see that tweet. So again, it depends on the messaging, it depends on who you're trying to connect with, and what kind of message you're trying to get out there. Does that make sense? So Facebook is a better place to deal with. I mean, I know there are a lot of Facebook fights that ensue, but actually our page has been really good at keeping things civil, which I feel like is miraculous. But so this is a good place to deal with folks that have questions. Again, Twitter is not a very good place to have conversations because it moves so fast. Facebook is a better place to discuss things if people have questions or concerns about something like Medicare for All. That's a good place to do it. So for instance, here we have some posts that we've put up today, and you'll notice that on Facebook as well, you have the hashtag. Now, hashtags on Facebook are not as powerful as they are on Twitter. I still include them because posting as a page, I think it's important to have that in, just in case somebody on Facebook is looking for that specific hashtag. And again, here you can also search in the Facebook bar for a hashtag, it doesn't happen as often as it does on Twitter, and you also have a lot more to sift through on Facebook. So for instance, here I've got articles, I've got videos that people are posting. Of course, I have, you know, our page as well, but it's less of a thing searching for hashtags on Facebook. So if you forget to put a hashtag on Facebook, I wouldn't worry about it. The important thing on Facebook is, again, the messaging. Just like on Twitter, folks want to see a message. They don't want to just see a link to an article. The other thing is that Facebook doesn't like to see just a link to an article. They really like stuff that keeps people on Facebook. So actually, a lot of times the best post to do is something that doesn't even have a link, that just has, for instance, a picture of some kind. So I don't even know if I have. Let's see if I've got. Great, that's a picture of our of our Zoom conversation. But so what Facebook likes is stuff that keeps you on Facebook. So they also love images. They love images and they love video, and you can direct upload images and video. So the link, what I just hit here, for those who didn't catch it or who are just listening without the screen share, is basically if I go to post something on Facebook, I put my cursor in the right post and I just click on the photo and video, and then it'll ask you how you'd like to do that and upload photos and video. And then it'll take you to your desktop, you choose something to upload, and away we go. And if it's a video, then it'll take you to a separate screen which has the information for the video, including, you know, the video title, any tags you'd like to add to that. But hypothetically, let's say that you just wanted to add this lovely leader of our Zoom conference, and then you'd write a message. And again, the message is really, really vital here. So something like 84% of Democratic voters want Medicare for all. And then maybe another line about something, and then with perhaps a picture of folks at a Medicare for all protest or something like that, and then you share that. That is more likely to gain traction than something that links to another site other than Facebook. What you can do then is a little trick to get around that if you do want folks to have access to a link, is you post it in the comments. And what I'll oftentimes do is I'll post a picture of something, and then I'll post right here, I'll say link in comments section. So folks who share it know that that's where it is. The one downside of this, of course, is if somebody shares it and the folks are not looking through the comments, they might miss that link. So you kind of have to weigh that depending on if you're really going for that link, then I'd just say go ahead and share that link, because that's the most important bit. And of course, if you look at our Facebook page, most of them are links, because they are links to articles that are really the focal point of that post. But if you are posting a picture, but you kind of also want people to link to the site, I would go ahead and post the picture of that rally or what have you, and then put the link to the Hope page in the comment section, because the focal point there will be the message and the image, and it's more likely to get more shares, more likes, and more eyeballs than if you do an outside page. So again, with Facebook, you want to avoid posting back to back. And by this, it's even longer on Facebook, because again, Twitter is a speedier version of Facebook. So you want to leave at least an hour between posts on Facebook. And it's best to do that because Facebook does, and also spoiler alert, both Facebook and Twitter are not big fans of progressive and leftist ideas. So be prepared to have some censorship happen to your posts.
Can I add one thing in there real quick, Eleanor?
Yeah.
Also, if I post something on Facebook and I see that it's really taking off and getting traction, I may actually not post anything on top of it for maybe 3 or 5 hours and just let it keep going, because you don't want to kind of squash it by posting something else if it's really taking off.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you, and this happens a lot with like live videos, for instance. If you have a live video, a lot of times people won't watch it while you're live because they can't make it, but it gets posted to your page, and then a lot of people are sharing it and they're talking about it, and then you want to make sure that continues to get play, so then you'll just leave that there. That's a great point. And so that's something to also think about when you're scheduling posts. If you are scheduling posts, to leave enough time between the posts to leave time for if something gets a lot of play, but also just to leave time to make sure that Facebook doesn't unnecessarily clamp down on you just for putting out too much, because they'll see it as spam. And then also acknowledging that Facebook doesn't like us. Then another thing to think about here, it's kind of the Facebook equivalent of tagging someone, is you can tag other pages on Facebook, and then they'll get see these little notifications up here. For those of you listening, you'll have notifications in the top right-hand corner of your Facebook. Those pages will get a notification. So if I wanted to tag Popular Resistance, then I would just do the @ symbol, just like on Twitter, and then type in the name of the page. So then let's say I wanted to tag my TV show. I would start typing Act Out. Not showing up. Well, that was a crappy example. Maybe it's because, there it is. Okay, that's a teachable moment. So Facebook has an interesting way that it does the tagging in the posts. Sometimes it wants you to have the name of the page without any spaces in between, and sometimes it wants you to have the page the way that it's titled. So for example, my page is just titled Act Out, but the name of it on Facebook is /ActOutShow. So just be prepared to have a little bit of perhaps a little bit of a struggle there if you're trying to tag someone and you're not sure exactly how it'll show up on Facebook. But again, it's just the same as on Twitter, the @ symbol, and then you start typing the name of the person or the name of the page. And also recognize that if it's a person, they might have settings that don't allow them to be tagged in Facebook posts. So if you really can't find them and it's getting frustrating, that might be the case. And then you could just write that person's name instead. So that's another thing that's worth doing, particularly if you're trying to build networks or let folks know about what's going on, bring people to an event, something like that.
So you said you want to keep time between your posts. How about replies to other posts? Can you just have at it with that, or is there a formula for that as well?
You mean comments?
Right, comments or yeah.
Oh yeah, you can comment on posts as much as you like.
Okay. Yeah,
that's not a problem. And also in terms of commenting on posts, always a great idea to tag our page in that. So if I'm commenting on this post here, I could just type in great resource for Medicare for all, and then health over profit. And then that our page will be tagged, and then people in the comment thread will obviously see that and be able to get to our page. So that's another great thing to tag in the comments. But of course, also when you're doing a post on your private page or on your organization page or what have you, always a great idea to give us a tag so that people can find us. Because once they get to our Facebook page, we have links to, of course, the website and how people can get involved. So that's a great way of funneling traffic to our site. Because ultimately, what we want people to do is we want to funnel people so that they can learn more. And the best way to do that is funnel them to the site, which is, the big hub of all the information and the action items and the events and everything.
Uh-huh.
So that's a really good thing to keep in mind while you're posting and while you're commenting. always a good little thing to put in there, like, oh, and, this is why we need Medicare for all. And then at the bottom of your comment, just put in that link, more information here or what have you.
Eleanor, can I also add that the more activity that a post gets, the more comments, likes, shares, doesn't that mean that the more widely it's going to be seen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
Facebook likes to promote out posts that are getting a lot of activity.
Yeah. So even if you're commenting on, something that we've posted that you agree with, that's a great thing to do. And also what people will oftentimes do is tag a friend. If you know somebody that you'd like to invite into this issue, tag them in a comment. And sometimes people will just, just a simple tag, like, I don't know if I can do it here. It might be, well, okay. But people will, I think it's not letting me because I'm signed in as this page. But it would be the same idea. You would just do an @ symbol and then your friend's name, and then they would see that you tagged them, and then they'd be notified that they were tagged in this post. That happens a lot, and you can also do that in the post itself. If you're posting something that you want your friends to see. I would just, again, caution to not overdo it, because sometimes people post and they'll tag like 80 people, and not only does Facebook not like that, but your friends probably don't like it either. So think about that when you're posting. And but yeah, Facebook loves to see that things are getting a lot of comments. So even if you agree with something that we've posted, for instance, please do comment and share it. That's the other thing, is if you're not comfortable doing your own posts, then feel free to use the share feature. So for those of you not watching the screen capture, in any post, the share will be under, like, right where you hit like or comment. It'll be to the right of those, and you just hit share, and you could say share to a page if you have a page, but a lot of times you could just hit share, and then just make sure it's on your timeline, or you can share it to a friend's timeline, somebody that you'd like to get in the loop on this. You could share it in a group that you're a member of. Let's say that you're a member of a group that deals with healthcare issues. That would be a great place to share some of our posts. Also, share an event. If there's an event about health issues or public health that's coming up in your area, then you could say, hey, could I have 5 minutes of the floor to talk about this? I think it's really important that we jump on this. So it gives you options of where you'd like to share this post. And then you can, I always recommend including the original post, because otherwise, it doesn't give people any context. But you just go ahead and type your message, and then that will show up on your timeline. It'll show up on your friend's timeline. It'll show up on that group's timeline, the event's timeline, et cetera, et cetera. So that's another great tool to use when you're getting that message out.
Another question?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Me? Okay. So you don't want to post too much, or how about sharing? Should you limit your sharing as well?
Yeah, because sharing
okay.
A shared post will show up as a post on your timeline. So so this morning, for instance, I posted. So I shared my show on my page. So this shows up. It says shared a post, but it shows up like a regular post on my page. So if I were to post something directly after that, then that would show up as it would show up as another post just right after that shared post. So yeah, the shares will show up as regular posts, but again, you could share a post on your timeline and then 10 minutes later share it on somebody else's timeline, and then on a group, on an event. So it depends on on where you're posting it. So here's it, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because this is kind of a bit of a sticky wicket with Facebook. So you don't see everybody's posts. And the way that those algorithms work on Facebook is something that nobody really understands, and Facebook likes it that way. So Facebook has very proprietary algorithms in terms of what they show to people. And so it's not, I can't guarantee, no one can really guarantee whether your friends will see the post that you posted. I mean, the person's post, the person whose page it is will see it because it's their page. And they'll go to their page and see that somebody posted. But for instance, not everybody saw that I posted this on my page. It depends on what their algorithm says and whether, how many friends they have, what kind of things they like on Facebook, because Facebook judges what it shows to you based on what you already like. So that's kind of, it's a difficult question to answer. The best answer that I can give you is that you don't really know. And so the best thing to do is to make it basically like what we're doing, make it a point to post often enough so that even if you post 10 times, people will see one. And I know that's really frustrating, but that's unfortunately how Facebook works. It has very arbitrary, well, to us it seems arbitrary algorithms that often won't show posts, particularly political posts. So if you post a picture of a cat, that will probably get 100 likes. But if you post a picture of, an article that has to do with public health, that won't get as many likes because of Facebook's algorithms. So it's the unfortunate downside.
We should use cats and then put Medicare for all.
That is a trick that people use. Yeah, no, I'm all for it. There are memes that have pictures of, panda babies and stuff, but they're talking about poverty. I think it's a great opportunity to get creative with the images and the messaging that we use. But yeah, Facebook's algorithm will also look at the words that you use in the post. So, that's unfortunately also the case. So if you put something in a post that they feel they don't want to have any play, then they'll just, look for that word and clamp down on it. So, but yeah, it is, I always recommend using, fun images or creative images that catch people's eye, but also could slide under the radar of these crappy algorithms that Facebook uses.
Eleanor, I also noticed that sometimes with a post, there'll be a bar underneath and it'll tell you how many views it got. Mm-hmm. But I don't see that all the time. So when does that happen and when doesn't?
Well, that happens if it's your page.
Always. Okay. I didn't notice it was always my page. Okay.
So I'm seeing this because I'm an admin on Health Over Profit.
Right.
But for instance, if I go to single payer healthcare where I'm not an admin, I don't see that.
Okay.
So that's basically for those people to use to know how well their posts are doing. But I mean, you can also kind of glean that from a post by seeing how many shares it has,
right,
how many
right.
comments, how many likes, how many, things like that. And this is another thing. Another thing that is part of Facebook's lovely little crackdown. Bad news doesn't necessarily do well on Facebook, but what really doesn't do well are the angry emojis. Facebook likes to see that people are liking things.
Oh,
that they'll keep coming back to Facebook. I know, it's ridiculous. They're the ones.
Oh my goodness.
But they're more likely to allow things into news feeds if it's the like or love or laugh emoji. The angry emoji they will clamp down on because.
Yeah, but us lefties always use the angry one.
Exactly.
Not fair.
I know, because there's a lot of shitty news.
Yeah.
So we get angry about it, and then we're like, oh, angry emoji. But then less people are likely to see it.
Comment? Is
Sorry?
it better to comment?
I always recommend commenting, but you can also hit like, just in terms of not like, oh, I love this news, it's great that people are poor, but oh, I like that you're putting this out there. Just give it a like, regardless of whether you're happy or sad about it. If you appreciate that post exists, just give it a like. Comments are definitely powerful. in terms of, I would say that they're more powerful than just a like. Yeah. Was there another?
Yes, this is Wendy. I have another question. I have lots and lots of pages that I'm the admin on. Any tips or hints or things to stay away from for sharing on each of those pages? Some are groups, some are, business or community. So I've spread out and, developed groups from 200 to 500 members. Mm-hmm. Are they watching the shares because I'm the administrator, or if I share one item in that 5-minute block across the board, are they putting a flag on you as well?
I would definitely tailor the message, because if it's the same exact thing, then it won't look good. So it's kind of like Twitter. Like if you try to tweet the same thing multiple times, Twitter won't let you do it. So with Facebook, I don't think, since the posts are going to different pages, they won't necessarily crack down on all of those posts, but I would definitely tailor the message so that it's different for each page, because then it shows up as a different post. And then it's kind of indiscernible from, other people posting that to their various pages and stuff like that. And it also means that it would probably do better too, because you're tailoring it specifically to that page. And it doesn't have to be like, a new paragraph for each page, but just, but just something simple, like a word change, even if it's just like the word of the group or the name of the group or something, just something simple that makes it different enough. I mean, you can easily create a new profile on Facebook. If you're worried about that being linked to your email, I'd say use an email that you might use for like junk mail, or just create a new one, like, my alternate Facebook at gmail.com or something, something like that that's specifically used for this, and maybe the crap newsletters that you don't want. So then it's not linked to the email that they have on file. And then you can use that for your Facebook and your Twitter. And, you could even have it be basically like a bullhorn profile for the issues that you care about. So there's no reason for you to necessarily use your own picture. You don't have to use your real name. You don't have to put up any personal information about yourself. And it's a totally separate account from your personal account. So no one would ever know that it's the same person. And the same thing with Twitter. You just open a new Twitter account. And this is actually I don't know, again, I'm not sure if I'm getting into the weeds here, but that's a good reason to use something like TweetDeck, which allows you to have several different Twitter handles at your fingertips. So I can tweet as myself, I can tweet as my show, I can tweet as Hope. I have access to tweet as several different accounts. So that's something that you can look into. I won't get into that right now, because that's a longer conversation, but that's a good tool to have if you'd like to be able to, and these are all linked to different email addresses as well. So you can have different accounts linked to different email addresses that are accessible via something like TweetDeck.
If you're just starting out, you might want to just, use your Facebook or your alternate Facebook identity to share, what's on the Hope page, or use the hashtags to search and see what's going on Facebook. And then you can comment on people's posts. So if someone comments like, my neighbor's son, they're holding a bake sale to get, pay for his broken arm. You could comment on that and say, yeah, that shouldn't have to happen. And if we had Medicare for All, it wouldn't learn about this at Hope or whatever. You can just use any excuses that you have to kind of raise awareness for this issue and direct people to where they can get more resources. Same thing on Twitter. If you just spent time retweeting things, that would spread the message as well. But then we also, and I just haven't gotten to this yet, but I'm going to be working with someone tomorrow morning on content, so we can just create a page where you can go and you can download an image from it, and you can use that in your social media to make your own Facebook or Twitter posts. But if you're not comfortable doing that yet, just spend some time sharing and commenting until you're more comfortable with doing your own content. And then using this as a way to, like, if we see something in the news, a reporter that writes something that's completely wrong about Medicare for All, you can actually like tweet right at that reporter and say, hey, I noticed this, you ought to know, blah, blah, blah. You're not in an angry way, but just kind of like, hey, you might not be aware that this is this. So there's different kinds of.
I will say that, sorry, Margaret.
No, go ahead.
I will say that in terms of sharing and retweeting, posts that are original do better. And that's not to say don't share, please do share and retweet, but in terms of if you're looking for traffic to your own tweets and your own posts, original ones will do better. So just keep that in mind. It's always good to mix it up, and of course, please do keep retweeting and sharing, but if you have a message that you want to get out there, it's always best to craft that on your own, because that also does better with the algorithm.
Right, or you could even, just really quickly say that you could even, copy another tweet, the content, and then into your own, tweet message, but then just change a word or two, and that looks like a completely new tweet.
One, is there an etiquette about tweeting, liking and retweeting? I mean, I guess I don't know why you wouldn't do both most of the time when you're trying to amplify a message. Is that right?
If you want to amplify it, you definitely should retweet, because liking it doesn't do anything. The only reason that you wouldn't retweet is if, let's say somebody messages you something that's between you and them, or it's not really pertinent to any sort of issue. People might message me and say like, hey, good seeing you yesterday. I'm not going to retweet that, because why would I?
Okay.
So it really, the liking function is kind of like a precursor to a retweet if you want to get that message out there. But other than that, I'd say if it's a good message and you want to get it out there, always retweet.
Yeah, I use the liking just to let people know that I've seen their tweet. It's kind of an acknowledgement.
And when you have a thread, and if it's a really good thread, say maybe it's got 10 posts, do you like and retweet each of the 10, or is it just important to do the beginning, or is there a general rule, or it doesn't matter?
You can retweet whatever. You can retweet any of the tweets in that thread, and they'll be linked. So if you happen to see the 5th one out of 10, then that thread will be. But
is there a reason to purposely go in and like and retweet all 10 of them, because it'll have a better chance of being in front of more people? Or
no, and also
or does that annoy people?
Well, it annoys the algorithm, and it might annoy other people, but it annoys the algorithm because basically what you're doing is you're putting up a new tweet in every second. So it's better to just retweet one of those tweets in the thread, and then the whole thread will come with it, as opposed to retweeting all of them, because then that will just look like Twitter will see that as spam.
Is there any way to group people, whether it's just you grouping them for future reference? So all the people that may be interested in Hope on Twitter. So you could, like you make friends groups or family groups in Facebook.
So on Twitter, let me see here. On Twitter, I'm not sure if you can do that. I know that on TweetDeck and things like that, you can. So TweetDeck allows you to set up, like another, like I could put, I can create another, for those of you who can't see this, I've just created a new column in my TweetDeck for the hashtag Medicare for All. And then I can add people to that. I can, delete people from that and things like that. As for Twitter itself, I'm not sure if you can do that. But I'd guess no. But I know that you can do that for Twitter with programs like TweetDeck.
I have 2 people that are in my area, and they have said that they would like to help me do this. And how do I just, will it be easy for me to figure out how to add them to the Google group? Or is that something that if we have people to add, you want us to approach you first?
The easiest would be is if people want to join this, if you have them fill out that little survey that you all filled out, because then that puts their information into a Google document for me. And that way I know everybody that I need to reach out to.
Okay.
And then I'll add them, I'll direct add them.
My memory.
If you go to the HOPE website and we have the new welcome page, the welcome section, if you click on get started or getting started, whichever one it is, it says in there, there's a link to, become a media mobilizer. And I should probably bold that so it shows up better. I'll do that. But there's a link to, if you want to be a media mobilizer, fill out the survey and there's a link.
Oh, one last question. I was told that there's certain times of day that are better than others. Is that the case?
Yeah, it depends on where you are, and it also depends on, so I think some of the best times of day are like around lunchtime. Early in the morning, people are on their way to work. They're checking their Twitter, they're checking their Facebook. So like 8:30 in the morning, 8:30. Also around noon to 1:30 or 2, and then after work. On the weekends, nothing before like 11 a.m. And I'd say like around 3 p.m. or so is also good on weekends. But I'd say like in general, those are good times. Of course, time zones are also a thing. So, if you're trying to reach the Sierra Club in Washington State, don't tweet at 8:30 in the morning Eastern time. So like just keeping those things in mind, and then also knowing that these are not hard and fast rules. Like there are apps that will tell you based on your account and people you follow when the best times to tweet are, but just outside of getting into the weeds on that one, then I'd say that those are some good guidelines.
Yeah, and I think aren't Sunday nights a really good time for social media?
Yeah,
I remember hearing that Sunday night.
Sunday afternoon, like between 3 and 7, 8, 9 is usually pretty good.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone.